Can you say a little bit more about how renunciation plays out in the erotic path?
The entry into the unfolding of the sacred and in any dimension comes at the moment that you have the epiphany, the flash, that what you're experiencing will produce more suffering, will produce more discontent, will you see the chain of it. It's a moment of seeing the chain of it, and you determine to do something else. And it can happen in a variety of ways. You know, it's the alcoholic has the moment when they flash, wait, I have all of these problems, and at the center of that is alcohol, for example. Or it may be that you have had the same type of relationship your entire life, and you're a serial monogamist, for example, and it's just never worked, and you've employed the exact same methods, but it hasn't worked, you know, trying the same thing and expecting different results. That's the opening, the window, which not everyone goes through, but should you choose to go through it, you go through the admission of a certain insufficiency. And again, it can happen on either of those wings. I'm too attached to longing, or I'm too attached to have, or both. It can alternate as well. And so that there's that flash. Oh, this isn't working. Very simple. Or if you're fortunate, it can happen where you see someone doing it another way, and then you say, "That looks great." Inspiration or desperation is how we're moved, right? So you start with that, and at the bottom of every one of those realizations, whatever domain it's in, at the bottom of every single one is a sense of incompleteness. You sense yourself as imperfect, or you sense this is imperfect, or whatever you lacked in, say, your childhood. Although I'm not a big childhood person, but we'll say whatever you lacked in your childhood, that's missing, and so you try to get it in excess. That is the cause of suffering. And you try to get it because you think that there's a you that needs that. Stephen Diamond, one of my favorite people, talks about discernment, and this is so. Stage one is you're just in the habit, you're just in the thing, you're just taken by it. It's normal for you. You couldn't really even imagine another way, and even if you hear about another way, you get a little bit thrashy about it. So then the middle stage is where you begin, in spiritual tradition, it's called renunciation, but I would shift that to, Stephen Diamond talks about a non-secular spirituality. I like that idea. And so he uses the word discernment. So to discern is derived in part from the Latin verb, forgive me, cernere, to sift, which means to separate, distinguish between, to detect or discover with other senses, with other senses than vision, that which is hidden or obscure. That's why I like that one better. And to distinguish or sort out the differences between qualities like good and evil, right and wrong, constructive and destructive. So this middle stage is where you take the program that was put over your organic self, and you move that aside, and you go into a state of exploring for yourself. And then he goes on and he uses another word, catharsis, which I like as well, which is to clean or purify. And it implies effective purification or purgation that brings about a spiritual renewal and a release from tension and conflict. And so this middle stage is the stage of not abstaining, and you're just abstaining from the habits. The habits aren't bad necessarily. We don't know. You don't know because you've been operating according to this program, and when you abstain, you get the opportunity to drop down into your own. You know, in Hillman's paradigm, it would be called soul, or Jung's, it would be called soul, where embedded within that is the information about who you are uniquely. But you can't do that while in the habit patterns. So you stop those. And you stop those, and then you begin to install other patterns. So it's release and installation. And then the third would be wise integration. And so all of those things that you abstained from, we can't live in a state of, we really try. Some of us really try, permanently abstaining from things. The pressure begins to build, right? Because desire is organic and it includes everything. So in this stage, you're developing the capacity and the muscle to be with organically moving desire in a way that doesn't grasp or reject. So then this third stage would be that you would reintegrate. So a great example of this, I think, is, well, this is going to be controversial, Bill W. Because Bill W., who founded AA, he obviously believed in the 12 steps, right? And the 12 steps say, do not use any substance that will alter your mind. But guess what Bill did at 17 years sober? He went and he did LSD and said, this is actually beneficial for the essence of what it means to be sober. And so what I hear him saying is he had developed enough internal capacity or fortitude so that he could discern what would bring about tanha, which is thirst, a craving that will never be gratified, and what would release desire, which would bring us to the wholeness of who we are. And so in this stage, you only enter this stage once you've had the flash of perfection. I am whole and complete, and this, as it is perfect as it is, with room to evolve. So so all those places, that, oh, this is insufficient, I need this, or I need to reject this, those have all been smoothed out. And then you enter this stage, and that's where you begin to reintegrate whatever you let go of.